All right, there you go. Get us started off with a little bit of All of Me, a classic jazz standard. It was written in 1931 by Seymour Simons and Gerald Marks, a great collaboration of songwriters. It has won songwriting awards and is, over the years, has been a classic, recorded almost 2,000 times by the likes of Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald and Count Basie, and even Willie Nelson have done their arrangements of All of Me. So that's what we're going to look at for this session. Take a look at the PDF that came along with this lesson, and we're going to be working through that. The first thing we're going to look at is the melody of this song. Now, I like to play this melody in the 5th position. It's a good warm place to play it at on the neck of the guitar. In jazz, you generally want to avoid playing the open strings. It's just a little brighter than jazz tends to want to sound. In jazz, you want a big, nice, warm, round tone, and a lot of times you can get that in the middle of the neck. So there's 2 ways to play a melody in jazz. There's the written melody, which is what you see here, and that's C. So that first lick would be right here. But another way to play melodies in jazz is to bump them up an octave. And so we would be playing it up here. Even though I'm reading it in 1 octave, I'm playing it in the upper octave. So we're actually going to learn both ways of playing the melody. So the first thing we're going to do is learn the melody. I'm just going to play it for you nice and slow. Now, remember, as you're watching this on YouTube, you can go down to that icon down, that little gear icon in the bottom right of the screen, and you can change the speed. So if this is going too fast for you, change the speed and you can practice with me at a slower tempo. So take a look at this first one. We're going to start this in the 5th position. Now, it's going to slide into the 4th position a little bit along the way. Don't let that throw you, but we're going to generally start in this area of the guitar with your first finger up here at the 5th fret. So I'm going to play through the melody nice and slow, just straight. You try and play it with me, and then we will go on to some other things. But I'll try and play it real slow, just as written. Now, in jazz, we don't play things as written. We have the artistic license to move around, but I just want you to see what it is. Okay? So I'm just going to count it off for you, nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and 3, 4, 1, 2. These are triplets. Slide back for this, and then we're going to slide back up into the 5th position. 3, 4, 1, D sharp with our 2nd finger, 1st finger, pinky, 1, 2. We just stay in that 5th position. 3rd finger, and 1, 2. Back in the 4th position. Now we're back in the 5th. 1, 2, slide back for this B, then reach out for the B flat, and 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then back up to the 5th position. 3, 4, triple it here. So do you see when I have to go back to a B, I have to go back to the 4th position, then back up again. And 1. Okay, stay right there. 3rd finger on this D, go. 1, 2, slide back. 2, 3. Pinky on this E. 1, 2, 3. Then back up the 5th position. And that's the basic melody played in the 5th position. All right, so now if I want to learn it, another good place to learn it is up in an octave higher. So now I'm going to play it in the 8th position. That would put us with this C right here. That would be our first combination. Now again, as I have to go like I did before, for that B natural, I have to scoot back to the 7th position. So let's play it up here in this higher octave now. 1, 2, 1st finger on that 1st string at 8th fret, 2, ready, and 3, 4, 1, 2, triple it. slide back. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. First finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gotta scoot back for that one. 2. 1, 2, 3. We're just still in the 7th position here. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then back up to the 8th position. 3, 4, 1, 2. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And first finger. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Third finger. Or the 4th if you're already down the 7th position. First finger. So the highest note is that pinky on that high E there at the 12th fret. So there's the melody in the 5th position, and the melody also an octave up in the 8th position. Now, I realize it's going to take time for you to learn that. Just stop, pause, and then go back, adjust that speed as you need to be able to play that with me. Now, one of the great things about jazz is we rarely play the melody as it's written. What fun is that? The whole point of jazz is the interpretation of what you can do with the melody, not just, there's the melody. Very different from the classical guitar world where you have to do exactly what's on the page. Not in jazz, not in jazz. I can slide to notes. I can change the rhythm of notes. I can vary it 100 different ways. Little hammer-ons and pull-offs. All these little nuances add to the interpretation of the song. So experiment with sliding into certain notes and trying to get that jazz sound. And vary that rhythm up. That's the whole point of jazz. All right, so that's the melody. Now, let's take a look at the chords we would use to maybe comp if someone else was playing the melody and I was just comping. Now, I've got 2 different arrangements in here of the chords, and let me tell you about one important thing that's going on between the music and the track. Now, Hal Leonard pulls these tracks, and they don't necessarily pull them exactly how they're written in the real book. They use tracks for various things, and this they pulled off of a Count Basie play-along that they were doing, and so we have this intro that appears on the track, which is a 4-bar intro. I have it written out on the first page of the PDF. If you look at the bottom of that, don't get scared off by all those chords. Oh my goodness, don't worry about that. If you want to play a little something along with it, you can play the little melody line there or some facsimile to it. If you don't want to do that, just count for 4 bars. He'll count you off 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just count for 4 bars before the actual melody comes in. It's one of the little idiosyncrasies of these Hal Leonard tracks there. But that, if you're interested in the intro, which is 4 bars long, and it's used as the outro at the end of the song, then there it is. How the song is on the track is you have 4 bars of this intro, then we go through the 32 bars of the song. The song is in this A, B, A, C sort of form there, not kind of an atypical jazz form. Usually a jazz form is A, A, B, A. This is A, B, A, C, but it's a 32-bar song in 8-bar segments. Now, then you go through the song 3 times on the track, and then you do this outro 4 bars, and then you end on a C is basically how it works. So that's what that is. Let's take a look at the chords. Now, one of the differences between the track and what's written in the real book is if you look down at the next to last line, you have, in the written music, you have an F sixth, and then you have an F minor sixth, or this, and then you have a C, and then a little passing chord there to the A seventh. All right, but what's happening on the track is slightly different. In this one particular instance, on the track, you're going to have an F chord, and then you're going to have, instead of that F minor 6, you're going to have an F sharp diminished. A completely different chord, but it works equally as well. So you'll hear me refer to that F sharp diminished quite a bit because that's actually what's going on with the track. So if you look at page 3 of the PDF and I have the basic chords written out there, you'll notice on that line I've got a couple of chords that have parentheses around it. Those are the chords that are on the track but not on the written music. That's what that is. Now, at the end of the song, the last 3 chords of the song, you'll see those have parentheses around them too. That's a turnaround in jazz. It's basically a 2-bar phrase, and if you wanted to end, you would just play the first chord. Da, 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 and you just end. But if you're going to turn around that, get it back to where you're going to repeat again, you play those added chords there. All right, so take a look at the basic chords. These are kind of a little bit more of a simple chords, and then we're going to cover chords that have a little bit more of chord substitution, a little bit more of a jazz flair to them. Okay, so let's first learn these forms. Now, if you're a little fuzzy on jazz chord forms, again, I would encourage you to check out the fretboard workout series we did on jazz chords. It's a whole rich library of chords that may seem daunting for you at the first time you look at it, but it's actually just another little library of chords that you can use to really embellish your playing and are used all the time in jazz. So take a look at the first one. It's a C sixth. That is this shape. I'm not going to go through each individual fingering of each chord because you can figure that out on your own, but just take a look at my fingering there. Second finger on the top. A formula for a C6 is 1, 3, 5, and 6, which includes the notes C, E, G, and A. The next chord is an E seventh with your third finger on that 5th string as the root. It's kind of like a C7 if you want to think of it that way. Just scoot it up. And you're using just the inside 4 strings. The A seventh in the next line down, first finger, second finger, third finger. I mute out that 5th string. A great jazz accompaniment, chord voicing. You'll see it's part of actually that full big bar, but in jazz we don't play those big bars like that. We play little parts of chords. This is a stereotypical 7th form. The next one is a D minor 7th, regular standard D minor 7th. And these, where did I come up with these chords? Well, you've got different options for chords. These are just the chords that I would typically play if I was simplifying the song. Back to E seventh again, and then the A minor. Some play it with a second finger, third finger, fourth finger. You can also do it with a bar there. D7, same shape as the E7th. I'm trying to keep them consistent. D minor 7th. G7, same shape as the A7. So you see we've gone through about 4 lines of chords and we've only done about 5 different shapes. Then back to the C6 we did before. Then the E7th we did before. A7th we did before. D minor 7th we did before. Here's the F6th. And then in the recording, it goes to an F sharp diminished, which is that shape. So if I was on the recording, playing along with the recording, I probably would do that parenthesed F6th voicing. Inner strings. When you're comping on jazz, inner strings, that's the way to go. And then F sharp diminish. See how it keeps that one note consistent between them two? Then C major 7th. Then back to our A7th again. D minor 7th. G7th. C6th. E flat diminished, same as the F sharp diminished, just down here at the 5th position. D minor 7th and G7. Okay, so we're going to turn on the track, and I'm going to play these chords along with the track. Now, it has just slashes there. Steve, what do I play? That's the beauty of comping on guitar. You can play whatever rhythm you want. If you want to just do whole notes as you're just learning these chords, great. If you want to play something a little bit more elaborate with your rhythm, then experiment with that. So here we go. We're going to turn on the track, and you see if you can play these basic chords with me.
1, 2, 1.
Remember, it has this intro first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. Here. So I can chunk like that. Just kind of Freddie Green style chunking. Kind of pumping with my hand. Or I can do more of that F6, we're going to use that new version, F sharp diminished. There you go. All right, so that is the basic chord forms. Again, if it's too fast, I get it. Just change the speed of the recording down there, and you can practice along with that. All right, so that's the basic chords. Let's take a look at the advanced chords and see what's going on here. All right, so the song is basically in the key of C, but we've got a lot of dominant chords along the way, chords that slip out of the key of C for a few bars and then onto another target chord. So these chords that have like a seventh on them, the E seventh, the A seventh, the D seventh, the G seventh, those are all dominant functioning chords, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more with our lick of the week. So take a look at the advanced chords. This is page 4. Instead of playing the C sixth, I'm going to substitute in a C major seventh. Completely fine to do that. Gives it a little bit more of a rich sound when you're adding that seventh. Instead of the E seventh like this, I'm going to just add some color tones to that, and I'm going to do an E 13th. This is a great little inside 4 strings jazz voicing of an E 13th. There's your E with your second finger on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Pinky there on the C sharp, which is the 13th. 3rd finger on the G sharp, which is the 3rd, and then 7th. So it covers all the main things that you need in a chord without anything else that you don't need. What's important in a chord is generally the 7th, the 3rd, the color tone. Those are what's important in a chord in jazz. So I play that E 13th. Notice how it's got the same E as the first chord. So we're tying these chords together by a common tone. Then the A ninth, this is a substitution that is used all the time in jazz. For a 7th chord, I go up to its 3rd. In this case, the 3rd of the A would be a C sharp, and I substitute in a minor 7th flat 5. So I substitute for this A 7th, I substitute in a C sharp minor 7th flat 5. C sharp half diminished is another way to do it. Not a complex form to play. It's just something that may be unfamiliar if you don't play it a lot. But this sounds a whole lot more colorful than this. That sounds rather stable, but in jazz it's all about the color. So I can do this substitution on any dominant functioning chord. Just go up to its 3rd and throw a minor 7th flat 5 on it, and you end up with a cool sounding voicing. For this one, I call it an A ninth because it has every note of an A ninth except the A. An A ninth would have an A, a C sharp, an E, a G, and a B. So it has the C sharp, E, G, and B, just doesn't have the A. So it's a rootless voicing if you want to think of it that way. And then I go to a D minor 7th, a little bit of a wider stretch, a very jazz form. Again, notice how I'm keeping with just using the inside 4 strings. I'm not using that 6th string or that 1st string very much yet. Okay? Listen how well these chords join great voicings. When I go back to that E7th in the line 3, I do my 13th, add some color tones to it again. But this time it resolves to an A minor. So in order to keep that little high E going, I just did an A minor bar and went down to the 2nd string. In order to keep that E going, for the D7th, I made it a D ninth. There's our D7th, so I just moved this note D up to the E. Made that a D ninth. Again, don't stress out if you don't know these forms. That's what the beauty of this video. You can pause it, take a listen to the forms, figure them out, and then work with it as you get more familiar with it. Then back to the D minor. Then for the G7, I substituted in G13th, trying to keep my E up there. And then just for some variation, I bring that E down and make it a G augmented 7th, going into the C major 9th in line 5. Just to give a little bit of a line happening there. So if I played line 4, it would be like this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, D minor, 2, 3, 4, G 13th, G augmented. Hear how that made such a nice rich sort of voicing in there. That's what you want. You want these chords to connect together. So for the C major, I didn't do a C major 7th. I went one more color tone up, and I did a C major 9th. Then I did back to my E 13th. And then just for something different, for the 2nd measure of that E, I did an E augmented. So I have to bar this first finger down here. Gives a little voice movement from this down to here. So on a 7th chord, I can do all kinds of stuff. 7th chord, I can throw in augmenteds, I can throw in flat 9, sharp 9, I could do color tones. The world you can do on a 7th chord. You'll find we'll do more and more of that. A 9th, same thing again. That rootless chord substitution there. D minor 7th. For the F major 7th, I just do or for the F, I think in the original it's an F 6th. I make it an F major 7th, make it a little bit richer. F sharp diminished like we did before. Notice how all of these, almost every one of these chords is using just the middle 4 strings. And then C major 7th. Now on the original you'll see an E minor 7th with a B flat in the bass. That's just a passing chord there. So I just did a B flat 9 to get us down to that A9. So don't worry too much about that E minor 7 flat 5 with a B flat in the bass. Oh my goodness, what is that? It's just a passing chord. So you can pretty much do whatever you want to there to get you down to it. I substituted in a B flat 9 to go down to that A 9th. D minor 9th, G 13th, then C major 7th, E flat major. This is all D minor 9th, G augmented to get us back to the C major 7th there. So we're going to play this along with the track, and you can play whatever rhythm that you want to as well. So this is the All of Me advanced chords with the track.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, sorry. The intro. We'll try that one more time. Here we go. E 13th. That's a little bit more basic, more advanced chords than the basic chords that we did before. So that's a little bit about how I would comp that song if I was playing along with a vocalist or a horn player or something like that, and I had to just do the accompaniment. I would choose those type of chords. Those are the exact chords that I probably would be playing in that situation, and some of why that works. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit. We've learned the melody, we've learned the chords. Now let's talk a little bit about soloing and how to approach that. So we're going to skip a couple of pages and come back to our lick of the week in just a second. So take a look at page 7. Take a look at page 7. In the middle of that, I kind of discuss some thoughts on how to approach this song. Now, this song is in the key of C. So if I look back to the song, most of the chords in it, if it's in the key of C, you're going to see chords like C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G7, A minor, a B half diminished. Those are the chords, jazz chords, that are in the key of C. Don't know what I'm talking about there? Check out that fretboard workout on jazz chords and explains how I derived all of those chords. But each key basically has a certain collection of chords that go along with it. And in key of C, those are the ones. C major, D minor, E minor 7th, F major 7th, G 7th, an A minor 7th, maybe a B half diminished. Those are all in the key of C. Now, but there you'll notice there's some other chords in there as well. There's at the end measure 3 and 4 of the song, there's an E 7th. Okay? And then there's 2 bars later, an A 7th. So both of those chords are out of the key of C. Okay? So those have some notes in it that are not in the key of C. So as I'm playing a solo, if it's over the key of C, I can really noodle around any lick I know in C and it'll work on a chord that is in the key of C. But when I get to this E7, for example, it's got some notes that have changed in it. And what I want to do as a jazz soloist is I want to try and go by and take note of that note that has changed and try and hit that. Okay? So between a C6th, the notes in a C6th are a C, E, G, and an A, but the notes in a G in the E7 include a G sharp. E, G sharp, B, and D. The E, B, and the D are still in the key of C. The only note that is changed out of the key is that G sharp. So one of the tricks that you can do with soloing is try and just tap those notes that have changed as they go by, and that helps it sound like you are making the chord change. Okay? So that's one thing to do. As I'm coming into that E7th, I want to try and hit that G sharp somehow, to just let that know. I definitely don't want to play a G because G is not active anymore over that E7. Over that E7, I've got a G sharp. So just to illustrate that, really quickly, we're going to turn on the track again, and I'm going to play that E and a G, and then an E to the G sharp when we get to the E7th, and you'll see how that fits. So let's turn on the track again, and I will play that melody. Remember, it has the intro first. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Great. Okay, I went from the G over the C chord to the G sharp. When I went to the A, I went to the A. Now in the A, what do we have in an A7th? It's an A, C sharp, E, and a G. So if I can meander my way over to that C sharp and hit that C sharp, that's going to be a key note to try and catch. And then once I get to the D minor, then I'm back in the key of C. I can do whatever I want to in the key of C. G7, and it goes on from there. So if you take a look at that concept, let me just explain that concept there. The D minor in the second line, okay, that's the 2 chord in the key of C. If I wanted to get the 5 chord of the D minor, okay, what is the 5 of a D? That would be an A7th. Okay, that explains why the A7th is there. It's the 5 of the D minor that's coming. Now, well, what is the E7th doing there? Well, what's the 5 of an A? That's an E7. So you're having a chain of 5s dominance that is eventually going to land up on that D minor. We get back to the E13th in line 3. which is the 5, if you want to think about it, of the A minor that's coming. So you can have a dominant that goes to, dominants are leading to these target chords, and that's what that E13th is doing, or E7th is doing there. D9th, that's the 5, or that's the 2 major, but it's functioning as a 5 going to the D minor, which is the 2, and then eventually the 5. 2s and 5s are so related to each other that sometimes they're just kind of bundled in a tonality that's called a 5. So the D7th is the 5 of that G7th collection of chords there. Back to the C major and the 1, so we go down a couple lines. The next to last line, we have the F major 7th, which is a 4 chord. Then we have this next bar, which includes a variation of the 4. 2 common variations of the 4 are to make it minor or to go to 4 diminished, 4 sharp diminished. That's what that is there. You have the C, and then it goes down, works its way down to the A7th, which is the 5 of the D minor that's coming. D minor is the 2, G13th is the 5, and then we're back to the C, which is the 1. So a little bit of the functioning there. So as I'm playing a solo, I don't want you to get too lost in all of the formulas of it, although jazz does include a lot of that. Jazz includes a lot of that, so don't think you can ignore it for very long in jazz. Harmony is what makes it work. But where's a good place to start? A good place to start is by each one of these chords, write out the chord tones that are in that chord. I have them written down there on page 7 just to help you out. So I would, next to every chord that's on the song is on that little chart there on page 7. I would write down those notes, and then when I'm at that chord, I want to try and play the note that has changed, or is perhaps maybe the 3rd or the 7th of a chord. A good exercise to play is to go through the whole song and play the 3rds of every chord, or play the 7ths of every chord, something like that. Those are some thoughts on the soloing aspect of things. Using arpeggios is always a great way to go in jazz as well. We'll build more on those concepts coming up. Let's take a look at the jazz lick of the week. All right, so this is a great lick that you can throw in over all those 7th chords that we were just talking about. Now, this is a lick blatantly stolen from Charlie Parker, the great jazz saxophonist. Charlie Parker's version of Donna Lee, his song Donna Lee. Buried in all of the notes of that song is very fast, and it's this one little lick that works over a dominant 7th chord, an E7th, an A7th. And it includes an arpeggio up of the chord as well as some color tones at the top. So like over a G7th, if you look at the first one, I'm just going to put it in C just to illustrate it. This lick works equally well resolving to major or resolving to minor. So the lick sounds like this. If I was going from a G7, resolving to a C, here's the lick. The key is starting on the 3rd finger. 2nd finger here on the A flat. Do a little hammer-on pull-off. So if we went really slowly through that 5-7 resolving to major, it would go like this. 3, 4. Now it resolves equally as good, 2 licks for the price of 1, resolving to minor, if I was going resolving to a C minor chord. There's if I was resolving to the C minor. Remember, I like starting on 3rds. I like starting on 7ths. That's what makes this makes jazz work so well. And look, this is the perfect jazz lick. It starts on the 3rd of that dominant chord and ends on the 3rd of the target chord that you're going for, whether major or minor. So that's the lick. Now, what good is a lick if you can't use it in a variety of places? So if you look further down on page 5, you will see a long chart there. And what that is the lick written out on every string set combination possible. Now here's the deal. It starts on the third of the dominant seventh chord that's functioning there. The E7th, the A7th. If you see a seventh on it, that's a chord that you could use this lick on. Just go to the third of that chord and play the lick. Now, all of these versions here start with your third finger. Third finger, very important. If you try and start it with another finger, it's not going to work. So if we look at that first on number 5, where it says lick of the week, fingerings for different string sets, I have it on the, if I did it on the third through the first string set, the lick is fingered this way. Starting with my second finger. That's the only one that's different. All the rest of them start with your third finger. If I did it from the fourth string to the second string, I have to go up here to the ninth fret. Notice how I had to do a little bit of a position shift there. When I hit that second string, I have to scoop my hand out. When I go to the fifth string, well, I have to do it up here. I could do it down here, but I'm getting to open strings. Slightly different fingering, but works just as well. The sixth string, I have to lower it an octave and put it, but it's the same fingering as the one up here. And here's why you want to do that, because you don't just learn one lick over one chord. I want to use that lick over every stinking chord that I come across. I want to use it in every finger combination I can come across. I want to be able to use that lick. That's why it's a good thing to practice these in various parts of the neck. So in order to give you some practice for that, turn over to page 6. There's this little exercise that'll help you practice this lick. It starts with doing it on the 6th string, and then it goes to a 5th string version of it, a 4th string version of it, and a 3rd string version of it, and it resolves all along down the way. So here is that exercise. I'll play it first, and then I'll explain it to you. So it actually teaches you the resolution as well. So here's the lick. It starts out on a G7th tonality. Then it resolves to here if I did the lick in C7. 4th string, now it would be over an F7. B flat. Now you don't have to play it exactly like this. That's a pretty complex lick. For Charlie Parker, that's a pretty complex lick. I can simplify it a whole bunch of different ways. If I wanted to simplify it, don't do the little triplet at all. Up an octave. There I've simplified it, and without doing that, if I want to make it a little bit more complex, make the triplet an 1/8 to 2/16. So you have that little dot diddly up. So that's just a little exercise to practice. So I would say maybe every day go. Just practice that a while. Get those feelings, those finger combinations under your fingers. All right, now how do I apply this lick in our All of Me song? Well, there's 4 places you can apply it. Anytime there's a 7th chord, which we have 7th chords over E7th, we have over A7th, we have D7th, we have a C7 in there. Over the E7th, I would remember you go to its 3rd, so I would start the lick on the G sharp. If it's over an A7th, I start it on its 3rd, which would be the C sharp. If on the D7th, I would start it on the F sharp. On the G7th, I'd start on the B. So you'll notice it's actually just 2 different shapes that you have to learn, but you have to shift them to the right place. So just to give you an idea, we're going to turn the track on, and I'm going to try and play that lick on every one of these dominant 7th type chords that come along. Now, it's a 4-beat lick. So generally these chords, the E7th is for 2 bars long. So I don't want to play it on the first bar. I want to play it, because since it's going to resolve to the next chord, so I want to play my lick on the second half of those two bars. So I would play my E 7th lick in bar 4. I would play my A 7th lick in bar 6 to try and get me to the D minor. All right, so put on the track. I'll try and use this lick in as many places I can use it.
1, 2.
Intro
1,
first.
2, 3, 4.
So I'm just soloing. Here's my lick. Here's my lick again. Here's my lick. Sorry, now. And. The D7. Here it is. You go. So you see what I tried to do. I just tried to put that lick everywhere I can. Now you're obviously not going to do that in a solo, use the same lick over and over again, but it's a good way to practice those sorts of licks. So that's the jazz lick of the week. Simplify it if you need to. Learn how to apply it into these various different places. It's a great jazz lick to get underneath your fingers. All right, so we've talked about the melody. We've talked about the chords. We've talked about soloing. We've talked about the lick of the week. So now I also included, let me just briefly touch on, I included a couple of arrangements of chord melody. Some of you were asking about, I'd like to do a chord melody of these things. So I put together a basic one and an intermediate one. Take a look at the basic arrangement using triads. Remember our triads series from a while back? These are, and we talked about major triads and minor triads and seventh triads. Here I'm going to do all of me using just triads. So let me play it for you. I'll do it slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next page. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Big bar here. That. So I'm not going to go through each individual voicing there. You've got me playing it, you've got the notes and the tab there. That's a simple arrangement using triads. A great way to get started doing chord melody. If you're a little bit looking for something a little bit more advanced, take a look at the other arrangement. This is all of me, kind of an intermediate chord melody. This is something more that I would do if I was playing a simple chord melody to this song. So let me play this for you. Let me talk a little bit about the chord substitutions you'll notice going on there. I'm jumping over the C between a C6-9 and a C major 7th. Over the E7th, I'm adding some ninths, some flatted ninths, some 13ths. I'll slide back and forth between chords. You'll notice on that A ninth. Trying to think if there's any other tricky combinations there. At the end of the page 1, that last measure, that G7 flat 9 ends up being a diminished chord. just going up to the third of that G7th and doing a diminished chord. The F 13th, second page, third line, F minor 13th, C major 13th, rootless voicing, A 13th, augmented, little passing chord. I've got to keep my melody as the uppermost note. Now, I didn't put much of a bass line or anything like that. It's pretty much just kind of a block chord melody, but you can build onto this and add as much variety as you want to in it. All right, so let me just play this All of Me, the intermediate chord version, as we're closing out here. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, 2. A 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And a 1, 2. A 1, 2, F major 13. And then I would continue on with that. And as I spun out of it the second time, ending on that C6-9 there. Now, if this is too advanced for you, don't worry about it. Just grab what you can and learn all that you can, and then I will see you in the Zoom session coming up later on in the week. So practice what you can this week, and then we will see you in the Zoom section. Let's play the track one more time, and I will solo as we're going out, and then we will wrap it up.
1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Have a great time practicing this great song. We will see you in the Zoom class.